The snow fell relentlessly upon Ashford Manor, blanketing the English countryside in a deceptive shroud of purity. It was Christmas Eve, 1935, and the grand hall echoed with forced merriment. Crystal glasses clinking, carols murmuring from a gramophone. Lord Harold Ashford, the tyrannical patriarch, raised his goblet for a toast, his face flushed with port and secrets. "To family," he sneered, "and the truths we bury." No sooner had he sipped than his eyes widened in agony. He clutched his throat, collapsing amid the holly and tinsel, his body convulsing in the flickering candlelight. Gasps rippled through the gathered kin, his wife, Lady Eleanor, his brother, Sir Reginald, the ward, Miss Victoria Hale, the family physician, Dr. Jonathan Blackwood, and the old war comrade, Captain Arthur Langdon. Who among them had poisoned the festive chalice? The wind howled outside, sealing the manor like a tomb, and the mystery began. Chapter 1. The Summoning of the Little Grey Cells. The train from London hissed to a halt at the little country station of Ashford Halt, its plume of steam swallowed almost instantly by the swirling snow. It was the morning of Christmas Day, 1935, and the world beyond the platform lay muffled beneath a quilt of white so thick that the station master's lantern seemed a solitary star in a universe of cotton. Hercule Poirot, wrapped in a voluminous overcoat of astrakhan and a muffler that threatened to engulf his famous mustaches, stepped down with the dainty precision of a cat descending from a velvet cushion. His patent leather shoes left perfect oval prints in the virgin snow, prints that would, within moments, be obliterated by the wind. Inspector Japp was waiting, his bowler hat dusted with flakes, his cheeks ruddy from the cold and something that might have been embarrassment. "Merry Christmas, Poirot," he said gruffly, "though there's precious little merriment where we're bound. Murder at a country house on Christmas Eve couldn't be more irregular if the king himself had done it." Poirot inclined his head, the tips of his mustaches twitching with anticipation. "Irregularity, mon ami, is the very breath of crime. Tell me everything. Leave out not the smallest mince pie." They climbed into the waiting police Daimler, its chains clinking over the icy road. Japp lit a cigarette, the match flaring briefly against the gloom. "Ashford Manor," he began, "belongs to Lord Harold Ashford, 62, wealthy, tyrannical, and now extremely dead. Collapsed at the dinner table last night right in the middle of his toast. Cyanide in the port, the local doctor says. The whole household snowed in, no one in or out since the storm started yesterday afternoon. Classic locked room job, only the room happens to be a 20-bedroom Elizabethan pile." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "And the guests?" "Family, mostly. Lady Eleanor Ashford, the widow. Beautiful, icy 45 if she's a day. Sir Reginald Ashford, the younger brother, sponge, gambler, and general ne'er-do-well. Miss Victoria Hale, the ward, 19, pretty as a winter rose and nervous as a kitten. Dr. Jonathan Blackwood, the family physician, lives in the East Wing, supposedly devoted to research. Captain Arthur Langdon, old army comrade of the deceased, staying for the holidays, limps from a war wound. Servants, of course, but they were all in the kitchen or below stairs when it happened. Alibis tight as a drum." The car lurched over a drift and Poirot steadied his Homburg. "The poison? Cyanide, you say? Potassium cyanide. Smell of bitter almonds, convulsions, the lot. The glass was tested this morning. The decanter was clean, so it must have been added to his personal goblet after the port was poured." "After?" Poirot's eyebrows ascended like drawn curtains. "Then the murderer was at the table, or had access immediately before. The goblet was filled by the butler Carstairs, then carried in on a silver tray with the others. Lord Ashford insisted on drinking from the same Venetian crystal every Christmas, family tradition apparently. The manor loomed ahead, a jagged silhouette of chimneys and gables against the white sky. Holly wreaths still hung on the great oak doors, their berries blood-bright against the snow. A constable stamped his feet on the steps, breath pluming like a dragon's. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of pine, beeswax, and something metallic beneath. Fear, Poirot decided. The entrance hall soared 2 stories, its minstrel's gallery festooned with evergreens. A Christmas tree the height of a small fir towered beside the staircase, its candles unlit, its ornaments glittering like frozen tears. Beneath it, a single gift lay unwrapped, a leather-bound book, its ribbon torn. Lady Eleanor Ashford awaited them in the drawing room. She wore black velvet, the severity relieved only by a single strand of pearls that caught the firelight. Her face was pale, composed, but her hands betrayed her, knuckles white where they clutched a lace handkerchief. "Monsieur Poirot," she said, her voice low and musical. "Inspector Japp has spoken highly of your talents. We are a house in mourning, yet we are prisoners of suspicion. I beg you, find the truth quickly." Poirot bowed with exquisite courtesy. "Madame, the truth is a shy creature. It hides in the folds of lies, but it cannot resist the little gray cells when they are properly exercised. May I see the dining room?" She led the way through corridors paneled in dark oak, past portraits whose eyes seemed to follow them with ancestral disapproval. The dining room was a cavern of crimson damask and flickering candelabra. The long table still bore the wreckage of the feast, the skeleton of a goose, the wreckage of a plum pudding, the scatter of crackers and paper crowns. At the head, Lord Ashford's chair stood empty, pushed back as though its occupant had risen in haste. A dark stain marred the Aubusson carpet, port or blood, or both. Poirot circled the table like a fastidious bloodhound. He examined the goblet, delicate Murano glass etched with the Ashford crest. A faint almond scent lingered. He lifted the decanter, sniffed, set it down. "Tell me, madame," he said, "the exact sequence of the toast." Lady Eleanor's gaze flickered to the empty chair. We had finished the pudding. Harold, Lord Ashford, rose to propose the loyal toast. He always used the same words, "Go to family and the truths we bury." Then he drank. Within seconds he was choking, clawing at his throat. Dr. Blackwood tried to help, but it was too late. "The truths we bury," Poirot repeated softly. A curious sentiment for Christmas. Sir Reginald Ashford entered then, a burly man in a tobacco-brown shooting jacket, his face florid with port and indignation. "Damn nonsense, all of it," he barked. "Harold was a bully and a skinflint, but murder, who dare?" Poirot regarded him with mild curiosity. "Someone dared, monsieur. Someone with access to cyanide and a grievance deep enough to risk the gallows." Reginald snorted. "Grievance? The man collected them like stamps. Owed half White's Club money I couldn't pay. Threatened to cut me off without a shilling. Yet you remain in his will? For now." Reginald's eyes slid away. "Until he changed it again. He did that every Christmas, like a parlor game." Miss Victoria Hale appeared in the doorway, a fragile figure in dove-gray wool. Her eyes were red-rimmed but dry. "Uncle Harold was difficult," she said softly. "But he was all the family I had." Poirot turned to her with gentle gravity. "Mademoiselle, you were at the table?" She nodded. "I sat at his left. He patted my hand before the toast, said something about making things right. Then he drank, and—" Her voice broke. Dr. Jonathan Blackwood followed, spectacles glinting, a medical bag in hand. "I did everything I could," he said defensively. "Digitalin artificial respiration, useless against cyanide. Death in under 2 minutes. Poirot's gaze sharpened. "You keep cyanide in the house, doctor?" Blackwood hesitated. "In the laboratory, East Wing, for photographic work. The amount missing is consistent with a lethal dose." Captain Langdon limped in last, leaning on a Malacca cane. His face was weathered, his eyes hard. "Harold saved my life in Flanders," he said curtly. "I owed him. Didn't kill him, though I've killed better men for less." The room crackled with unspoken accusations. Poirot raised a hand. "Enough. We begin with facts. The cyanide. Where is the laboratory?" Blackwood led him through a baize door, down a stone passage to a converted scullery. Shelves of bottles gleamed in the gaslight. A cabinet stood open, a space where a labeled vial should have been. "Locked?" Poirot asked. "Always. I have the only key." Blackwood produced it from his waistcoat. Poirot examined the lock, scratches fresh. Someone was less careful. Back in the hall, Poirot requested the servants be assembled. Carstairs, the butler, a dignified relic with mutton chop whiskers, stood at attention. Mrs. Danvers, the housekeeper, wrung her apron. The kitchen maid, a freckled girl named Elsie, trembled visibly. "Carstairs," Poirot said, "describe the port." "Decanted at 6, sir, his lordship's ritual. I poured 6 glasses on the salver, carried them in myself. No one touched them between decanting and serving. Yet 1 glass was poisoned." Carstairs paled. "Impossible, sir." "Improbable," Poirot corrected. "Not impossible." He turned to Elsie. "You prepared the mince pies?" "Yes, sir, cook's recipe. Sweat, currants, a drop of brandy. His lordship took 2. Poirot's eyes narrowed. "2? "Always, sir. Said 1 was never enough." A new avenue. The pies had been tested, clean. But the goblet. Upstairs, Poirot inspected the bedrooms. Lord Ashford's was a fortress of mahogany and leather, a safe yawning open, empty. Lady Eleanor's room smelled of lavender and secrets. A letter lay half burnt in the grate. Cannot bear the shame if he tells. Sir Reginald's room reeked of whiskey and desperation. Racing forms littered the desk. Miss Victoria's was painfully neat, a single photograph on the dresser, herself as a child with a woman who was not Lady Eleanor. Dr. Blackwood's laboratory-adjacent bedroom contained medical journals and a locked drawer, forced open by Poirot's pick. Inside, a photograph of a younger Blackwood with Lord Ashford, arms slung in drunken camaraderie, and a ledger showing payments marked Research. Captain Langdon's room was Spartan, military. A service revolver lay on the nightstand, fully loaded. Downstairs again, Poirot stood before the Christmas tree. He lifted the unwrapped gift, a first edition of Dickens' A Christmas Carol inscribed to my brother, "May you yet find redemption, H." "Sentiment," Poirot murmured, "or threat." Snow tapped the windows like impatient fingers. The house creaked around them, full of ghosts and lies. Poirot addressed the assembled household in the drawing room, firelight dancing on tense faces. "Mesdames et messieurs," he began, "we have a murder most intimate. The poison was administered in full view, yet unseen. The goblet was filled with the others, yet only one killed. Someone switched glasses, or added the cyanide after pouring before the toast. Someone who knew Lord Ashford's habits, his rituals, his very words." He paused, letting silence stretch. "Someone in this room," Lady Eleanor gasped. Sir Reginald swore. Miss Victoria pressed a hand to her mouth. Dr. Blackwood adjusted his spectacles. Captain Langdon's knuckles whitened on his cane. Poirot continued, "But there is more. A note found this morning in the victim's pocket, crumpled as though clutched in his dying hand." He produced it with a flourish. The paper was heavy, expensive, torn from a diary. "Meet me at midnight. The Christmas secret ends tonight." Gasps rippled. Whose handwriting? Whose rendezvous? Poirot folded the note with care. "Lord Ashford intended to reveal something last night, something worth killing to suppress. We will discover what. But first," he broke off. From upstairs came a sound, a scream high and terrified, echoing down the great staircase. Poirot was already moving, Jap at his heels. They raced up the stairs, the household trailing in a frantic knot. The scream issued from the attic door, ajar, a sliver of darkness beyond. Poirot pushed it open. Dust motes danced in a shaft of gray light from a dormer window. In the center of the floor lay a woman's glove, black kid, monogrammed VH, and beside it, a single red stain, still wet. Blood. The attic was a labyrinth of trunks and shrouded furniture. Poirot's torch beam swept the shadows. Nothing, Jap muttered. No body. But Poirot knelt, touched the stain. Fresh, within the hour. Someone was here, and bled. Miss Victoria arrived, breathless. "That's my glove. I lost it yesterday." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Then why is it here, mademoiselle, and whose blood anoints it?" The wind howled through a cracked pane. Somewhere in the house, a door slammed. The investigation had barely begun, and already the manor's secrets were bleeding into the light. Chapter 2. Shadows in the snow. The attic door creaked shut behind them with the finality of a coffin lid. Hercule Poirot stood motionless, torch beam fixed on the blood-speckled glove. The stain was small, no more than a thimbleful, yet it pulsed with significance, a crimson exclamation mark in the dust. Inspector Jap knelt, grunting. Not enough for a fatal wound. Someone nicked a finger, perhaps, or staged it. Staged? Poirot's voice was soft, dangerous. Non, mon ami, blood does not lie. It is the one honest witness in a house of deception. He lifted the glove with a silk handkerchief. The monogram VH was embroidered in silver thread, the kid leather still supple. Mademoiselle Hale claims loss yesterday, yet here it lies, warm from a hand. Footsteps pattered on the stairs, Miss Victoria herself, cheeks flushed from running, eyes wide with genuine alarm. "It is mine, Monsieur Poirot. I wore them to the village church on Christmas Eve morning. One vanished when I returned, left on the hall stand, I thought." Poirot turned the glove inside out. A faint smear of blood lined the index finger. "And this? Did the church mice bite you, mademoiselle?" She paled. I don't know. Perhaps I pricked myself on the holly." "Enough." Poirot pocketed the glove. "We descend. The snow has stopped. The grounds must speak." Outside, the storm had spent itself, leaving a world sculpted in porcelain. The manor's formal gardens lay buried, but the stable yard showed signs of life. Hoof prints, boot prints, the chaotic calligraphy of human desperation. Poirot moved like a dancer across the crust, Jap lumbering behind. "Observe," Poirot said, pointing to a trail leading from the kitchen door to the old ice house. The prints were deep, made by a heavy man, size 10 perhaps. Yet beside them ran a lighter set, erratic, as though someone had stumbled. The lighter prints ended abruptly at the ice house door, then reappeared heading back, spaced wider as if running. Jap whistled. Someone chased, someone fled, but no blood trail. Precisely. The injury occurred later, inside perhaps. Poirot pushed open the ice house door. The air struck them like a slap, thick with frost and the sweet rot of apples. Blocks of ice glinted in the gloom harvested last winter. On the sawdust floor lay a single object, a gentleman's gold cufflink engraved with the Ashford crest, a stag rampant. "Sir Reginald's?" Jap muttered. "He was wearing the pair last night." Poirot's eyes narrowed. Yet the trail was made by boots, not evening shoes. Someone changed footwear, someone planned. They followed the heavy prints to the stables. The groom, a grizzled veteran named Hobbs, touched his forelock. "Captain Langdon's hunter was out at dawn, sir. Said he needed air. Returned within the hour, horse-lathered." "Alone?" Poirot asked. "Aye, though I thought I heard voices, arguing like from the loft." The loft ladder was slick with ice. Poirot ascended with caution, Japp heaving behind. Hay scented the air and something sharper, fear. In the corner, a lantern guttered, still warm. Beside it, a torn scrap of paper, the corner of a letter. The visible words read, "If he speaks tonight, we are ruined." Poirot's mustaches bristled. The midnight meeting, someone feared exposure. Back in the manor, the household had gathered in the morning room, breakfast untouched. Lady Eleanor presided over the coffee pot like a priestess at a funeral rite. Sir Reginald nursed a brandy, his cufflinks conspicuously absent. Dr. Blackwood cleaned his spectacles with unnecessary vigor. Captain Langdon stood by the window, staring at the snow as though it held answers. Poirot entered without ceremony. "Mesdames et messieurs, the snow has betrayed you. Footprints tell a story of pursuit and panic, a cufflink, a lantern, a fragment of conspiracy, and blood, always blood." He laid the glove, the cufflink, and the scrap on the table. Silence fell, thick as the frost outside. Sir Reginald broke it. "That's my cufflink, dash it. Must have snagged it in the stables yesterday, checking the horses." "Yesterday?" Poirot's tone was silk over steel. "The prints are fresh, monsieur. Made since dawn." Reginald flushed. "Then someone's playing silly buggers. Langdon, you were out riding." Captain Langdon turned slowly. "I was, clearing my head. Harold's death hit hard. His limp seemed more pronounced. But I saw no one." Miss Victoria touched the glove. "May I have it back? It's sentimental. My mother's." Poirot watched her face. "Your mother's initials were VH." She hesitated. "Victoria Hale." "Yes." Dr. Blackwood cleared his throat. "The blood could be mine. I cut myself shaving this morning, rushed, you see." "Shaving with gloves?" Poirot smiled. "Non, doctor. The blood is on the inside. Someone wore this glove after the injury." Lady Eleanor set down her cup with a clink. "This is absurd. We are tearing ourselves apart over a glove and footprints. Harold was poisoned at table. Let us focus there." "Madame," Poirot said gently, "the murder is but the climax. The prologue was written in secrets, secrets that walked the snow this morning." He moved to the window, gesturing at the pristine lawn. "Observe, the kitchen door, the ice house, the stables, a triangle of guilt. Someone left the house after the murder seeking—" "What? To destroy evidence? To meet an accomplice?" Japp stepped forward. "We'll match the boot prints. Hobbs keeps records of everyone's footwear." Poirot nodded. "And the cufflink, Sir Reginald. May I see your others?" Reginald hesitated, then produced a pair from his pocket. One was missing its twin. "Careless of me," he muttered. "Or convenient for another," Poirot said. "Captain Langdon, your riding boots?" Langdon's jaw tightened. "In the tack room. Muddy." They adjourned to the stables. Langdon's boots stood by the door, caked with snow and stable muck. The tread matched the heavy prints exactly. Langdon met Poirot's gaze steadily. "I told you, I rode at dawn. The tracks are mine, but I saw nothing, heard nothing." Poirot crouched, scraping mud from the sole. Embedded in it, a flake of green glass. Murano green. "The goblet," Japp breathed. Poirot held it to the light. "A fragment, yes. Carried on a boot from the dining room, perhaps brushed against the table leg during the chaos." Langdon's composure cracked. "I helped carry Harold to the sofa, glass shattered everywhere." "Yet this piece traveled to the stables," Poirot said. "Curious." Back inside, the tension was palpable. Poirot addressed them in the hall, beneath the unlit Christmas tree. "The footprints lead us in circles like a fox evading hounds. But circles have a center. The ice house, why there? Ice preserves. What was preserved or destroyed?" He produced a key from his pocket, the ice house key taken from the board. Locked from outside, someone trapped another within? Lady Eleanor gasped. There's an old tunnel from the ice house to the wine cellar, disused since Prohibition fears in the last century. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Then we explore. The tunnel was a throat of stone, damp and echoing. Their lanterns threw grotesque shadows. Halfway along, a bundle lay against the wall, a man's scarf monogrammed R.A., Reginald's, soaked in blood. Jap swore. That's more than a finger prick. Poirot knelt. The blood was dried, dark, hours old, from last night perhaps. At the tunnel's end, the wine cellar door stood ajar. Inside, racks of dusty bottles gleamed. On the floor, a single drop of fresh blood, still wet. Someone had been here, recently. Poirot straightened. The chase began after the murder. Someone wounded, someone pursuing. The scarf, abandoned to staunch a wound. The fresh drop. Our quarry returned. He turned to the group, crowded at the cellar door. Who bled last night? Who ran? And who among you lies still? The silence was broken only by the distant drip of melting ice. Then from the racks a faint sound, a muffled sob. Poirot's lantern swung. Behind a crate of 21 claret, a figure huddled. Elsie, the kitchen maid, face streaked with tears, a bloodied rag wrapped around her hand. I didn't mean to listen, she whimpered. But I saw. Poirot's voice was gentle. Saw what, mon enfant? Sir Reginald and the captain arguing in the stables just before dawn. Sir Reginald had a knife, the captain was bleeding, then they saw me. The net tightened. Snow might hide footprints, but it could not silence a witness. Chapter 3. Whispers of the Past. The wine cellar air hung thick with the ghosts of vintages past, claret, port, and the sharper tang of terror. Elsie, the kitchen maid, cowered behind the crate, her apron clutched like a shield, the rag around her left hand stiff with dried blood. Hercule Poirot knelt with the grace of a courtier, lantern light gilding the tears on her cheeks. Speak, mon petit chou, he murmured, voice velvet over steel. You saw Sir Reginald and Captain Langdon in the stables before dawn, with a knife. Continuous. Elsie's breath hitched. I couldn't sleep, sir. The murder, it fair turned my stomach. I slipped out for air round 5:30. The stable door was ajar. I heard voices, angry like Sir Reginald saying, "You'll keep your mouth shut or I'll shut it for you." Then a grunt, and the captain stumbled back, clutching his arm, blood on his sleeve. Sir Reginald had a knife, small, shiny. Then they saw me. I ran. Dropped my glove in the attic when I hid. Poirot lifted the bloodied rag. Beneath, a shallow cut across her palm, defensive. You bound it with the captain's scarf. She nodded miserably. Found it in the tunnel. Thought it might stop the bleeding. Inspector Japp loomed. Sir Reginald Ashford, you're nicked for assault. Assault? Sir Reginald's bellow echoed from the cellar stairs, where the household had gathered like crows at a hanging. The girl's hysterical. I cut myself shaving, that's all. Langdon and I were discussing horses. Captain Langdon, pale beneath his tan, leaned against a rack of burgundy. A fresh bandage peeped beneath his cuff. Reginald's right. We argued. Old debts. He nicked me with a hoof-pick, panicked when the maid screamed. Nothing more. Poirot rose, eyes glittering. A hoof-pick that bleeds like a knife? None. And the scarf, monogrammed R.A., abandons itself in a tunnel? You insult the little gray cells? He turned to Elsie. You dropped your glove in the attic when hiding from whom? From them, sir. They chased me through the ice house. I thought they'd kill me to keep quiet. Lady Eleanor's pearls clicked as she clutched them. This is monstrous. My brother-in-law brandishing knives at dawn? Dr. Blackwood adjusted his spectacles. The wound on the captain's arm. May I examine? Langdon rolled up his sleeve with reluctance. A clean slash, 2 inches, sutured neatly. Blackwood stitched it himself, he muttered. Said it was nothing. The doctor flushed. A favor to an old friend. No need to trouble the police. Poirot's smile was wintry. Yet trouble arrives, Docteur. Come, we ascend. The past whispers, and I intend to listen. They processed upstairs like a funeral cortege, Elsie supported by Mrs. Danvers. In the library, Poirot closed the door with a soft click that sounded louder than a gunshot. Maintenant, he began, pacing before the fire. We have a murder at midnight, a chase at dawn, and secrets older than the snow. Lord Ashford intended to reveal something worth killing for. The note, the Christmas secret, ends tonight. Whose secret? He produced the torn scrap from the loft, smoothing it on the blotter. The handwriting was elegant, feminine. If he speaks tonight, we are ruined. Lady Eleanor's hand flew to her throat. That is not mine. Non? Poirot held it to the light. The paper matches your personal stationery, madame, from the escritoire in your boudoir. She sank into a chair. Harold, he found letters, from years ago, a foolishness with... Her gaze flickered to Langdon. With the captain, before the war. Harold kept them, threatened exposure every Christmas. Last night he said this year he would read them aloud. Langdon's face hardened. Blackmail. Pure and simple. Sir Reginald snorted. Joined the club. He had a dossier on me, gambling debts, a forged check. Said he'd ruin me with the bank. Miss Victoria, silent till now, spoke in a thread. And me. He had papers about my birth. Poirot's eyebrows ascended. Your birth, mademoiselle? She twisted her handkerchief. I was told my parents died in India. But Uncle Harold, he hinted I was not legitimate, that I had no claim on the estate. Last week he showed me a certificate, said he'd burn it or publish it. Dr. Blackwood cleared his throat. Harold funded my research, then withdrew support when I refused to falsify results for his investments. He had letters to the medical council. Poirot clapped his hands softly. Voila. A chorus of motives, each more poignant than the last, but only one sang with cyanide. He moved to the desk, opening Lord Ashford's appointment diary. The final entry scrawled in red, midnight, library. All will be revealed. The rendezvous, Poirot said. Someone met him here, before the toast. Japp examined the lock. No forced entry, he let them in. Poirot's torch swept the room. Beneath the desk, a single pearl earring, small, perfect. Lady Eleanor's. I lost it weeks ago, she said quickly. It could have rolled anywhere. Or been torn in a struggle, Poirot countered. He opened the safe, combination known only to Harold and Carstairs. Inside, folders labeled with each suspect's name. He lifted Victoria's. A birth certificate, amended. Father, Harold Ashford. Mother, Victoria Hale, née St. Clair. Victoria gasped. He was my father? Poirot nodded gravely. Illegitimate, yes, but acknowledged in this draft will, dated yesterday. You inherit everything. Sir Reginald lunged. The devil he does, that's forgery. Non, Poirot said. The ink is fresh, but the handwriting matches Harold's. He intended to legitimize her, ruining you, monsieur. He opened Reginald's folder. IOU's a forged check for $5,000. Langdon's, love letters from Eleanor dated 1914. Blackwood's, a damning report on experimental malpractice, each folder a noose. Poirot closed the safe. Lord Ashford gathered you like specimens, but one specimen bit back. The fire crackled. Outside, the snow began again, soft as forgiveness. Poirot turned to Elsie. You heard Sir Reginald threaten the captain, but earlier... Did you see anyone enter the library before midnight? She nodded, trembling. Yes, sir. Miss Victoria. Slipped in round 11 carrying a parcel. Left after 10 minutes. Looked upset. Victoria's eyes widened. I brought him a Christmas gift, a locket with my mother's picture. He laughed, said it was too late for sentiment. Poirot produced the locket from his pocket, found in the dining room debris. Inside, a miniature of a young woman, unmistakably Victoria's mother. On the back engraved, to H from V forever. Forever ended at midnight, Poirot said softly. Japp stepped forward. Victoria Hale, I'm arresting you for… No! Poirot's voice cracked like a whip. Arrest is premature. We have motives, alibis, secrets, but where is the cyanide? The laboratory vial is missing, yes, but who took it? He led them to the East Wing. Dr. Blackwood's laboratory was a chaos of retorts and Bunsen burners. The cyanide cabinet stood open, the vial gone, but on the workbench, a mortar and pestle, residue of white powder, and a single mince pie half-eaten almond scent strong. Blackwood stared. That's not mine. I never… Poirot lifted the pie. Tested this morning, clean. Yet the scent lingers. Someone ground the crystals here, then disposed of the vial. He opened the stove. Inside melted glass, the vial's remains. Destroyed after use, Poirot said. But the mortar, fingerprints perhaps. Japp bagged it. We'll have the Yard's men here by afternoon. Poirot's gaze swept the room. On a shelf, a photograph, Blackwood and Harold, arms around each other, a younger Victoria between them. Family, the caption read. Blackwood followed his gaze. Harold was godfather to my research, and to her in a way. He paid for her schooling, said she was his penance. Victoria touched the frame. He never told me. Poirot's voice was gentle. Penance, or leverage. He controlled you all with these whispers of the past. He paused at the door. But whispers become shouts when the clock strikes 12. Someone silenced him forever. As they filed out, Poirot lingered. In the waste bin, a crumpled note, identical paper to the threat. You have until midnight. Then I tell. The handwriting, Dr. Blackwood's. Poirot pocketed it. The net tightened, but the fish still thrashed. In the corridor, a grandfather clock chimed the half-hour. Somewhere a door creaked open, then shut. The past was not done speaking. Chapter 4, The Forged Legacy. The grandfather clock in the East Wing corridor had just told the half-hour when Hercule Poirot slipped the crumpled note. Dr. Blackwood's handwriting. You have until midnight. Then I tell. Into his waistcoat pocket. The paper was warm from the waste bin, as though the threat itself still radiated urgency. He closed the laboratory door with a soft click, then stood motionless, listening. Footsteps, light, hurried, retreated toward the servant's stair. Someone had been watching. Poirot descended to the entrance hall where the household had reassembled like wary chess pieces. The Christmas tree loomed over them, its unlit candles dripping wax like frozen tears. Inspector Japp stood by the fireplace, mortar and pestle sealed in an evidence bag, his face grim. Yard's delayed, he announced. Snow's blocked the main road. We're on our own till tomorrow. A collective shiver rippled through the room. Tomorrow felt impossibly distant. Poirot clapped his hands once, sharp, decisive. Bien. Isolation sharpens the mind. We proceed with a reconstruction. Mesdames et messieurs, to the dining room. We relive the fatal toast. They obeyed with the reluctance of condemned souls. The table had been cleared, but Poirot had Carstairs restore it. Goose bones, pudding basin, 6 Venetian goblets on a silver salver. The 7th, Lord Ashford's, lay shrouded in a velvet cloth. Positions, Poirot commanded. Lady Eleanor at the foot, Sir Reginald to her left, Captain Langdon opposite, Dr. Blackwood beside him, Miss Victoria at the head's left. Carstairs stood ready, with the decanter. "Begin," Poirot said. Carstairs poured port into each glass with ceremonial gravity. The liquid gleamed like garnets. Lord Ashford's goblet, distinctive heavier, received its measure last. Poirot watched every face. Now, the toast. He nodded to Sir Reginald, who rose clumsily. "To family," Reginald growled, "and the truths we bury." The words hung in the air like a curse. Glasses lifted. Poirot's hand shot out. "Stop!" He seized Lord Ashford's goblet, sniffed, then dabbed a finger and tasted. Nothing, as expected. The poison was added after this moment between pouring and drinking. Lady Eleanor's voice trembled. But Carstairs carried the salver straight in. No one touched. "Someone did," Poirot interrupted. "Observe." He produced a magnifying glass, examining the salver's rim. A faint scratch. New. The goblet was switched. The poisoned one substituted during the chaos of seeding. Captain Langdon shifted. "Chaos? We were civilized." "Were you?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Mademoiselle Hale, your gift to Lord Ashford, the locket. You gave it before dinner?" Victoria nodded. "In the library, he laughed, said blood was thicker than sentiment." Poirot turned to Carstairs. "You served the port at 8:15 precisely?" "Yes, sir." His lordship insisted on punctuality. Then between 8:15 and the toast at 8:30, the switch occurred. Who left the table? A pause. Dr. Blackwood cleared his throat. "I fetched my napkin from the sideboard." Sir Reginald snorted. "I stepped out for a smoke, corridor 2 minutes. Lady Eleanor's voice was ice. "I powdered my nose." Langdon shrugged. "Needed air. The war wound aches in damp weather." Victoria whispered, I checked the tree lights." Poirot smiled thinly. 5 absences, 5 opportunities. He moved to the sideboard, opening drawers. In the lowest, a spare goblet, identical to the murdered one but with a hairline crack. The substitute, hidden here, swapped during an absence, the poisoned one carried in a pocket or sleeve. Jap bagged it. "Prints?" "Wiped clean," Poirot said. "Our killer is methodical." He led them upstairs to Lord Ashford's study. The safe stood open, folders still inside. Poirot lifted a new document, a will dated Christmas Eve, witnessed by Carstairs and Mrs. Danvers. It left everything to Miss Victoria Hale, my acknowledged daughter, cutting out Sir Reginald entirely. Reginald lunged. "Forgery. Harold hated her." "Non," Poirot said calmly. "The witnesses confirm he signed it at noon yesterday, but observe the ink." He held it to the lamp. 2 shades, the signature fresh, the body of the text older. Someone altered an existing will, added the bequest. Victoria's hand flew to her mouth. He changed his mind? Or someone changed it for him?" Poirot said. "The forger used the same pen but not the same bottle." Subtle, but the little gray cells notice. He opened Reginald's folder. The forged check was gone. Conveniently removed. "By whom?" Dr. Blackwood's spectacles flashed. "I saw Sir Reginald in the study at 6 before dinner. He had a fountain pen." Reginald bristled. "Lies. I was in the billiard room." Poirot produced a fountain pen from his pocket, found in the attic beside the glove. Initials R.A. ink matches the fresh signature. Reginald stared. "That's mine. Lost days ago." "Or planted," Poirot said. "Like the cufflink, like the scarf." He turned to Victoria. "Mademoiselle, the locket, you engraved it?" She nodded. "Last month, at a jeweler in Bond Street." Poirot opened it. The engraving was crisp, except one letter, the H, slightly misaligned. Retouched recently by someone adding a flourish. Lady Eleanor's voice cut like crystal. Enough games, my husband was poisoned. Find the cyanide. Poirot bowed. Patience, madame. The cyanide is the destination. The journey is through motive. He led them to the attic, the scene of Elsie's terror. The bloodstain had dried to rust. Poirot knelt, scraping with a penknife. Beneath the surface dust, a second stain, older, larger. From last night, someone bled here before the dawn chase. He opened a trunk. Inside, a woman's dressing gown, monogrammed EA, stained with port and something darker. Madame, you claim to decorate the tree, yet this gown smells of the dining room. Lady Eleanor paled. I spilled port when Harold collapsed. Yet the stain is dry, Poirot said. From earlier. You were in the attic. Why? She hesitated. Hiding Christmas gifts. Poirot lifted a parcel from the trunk, wrapped in gold paper addressed to Victoria. Inside, the missing emerald brooch reported stolen that morning. Victoria gasped. Aunt Eleanor. I took it, Eleanor said quietly, to protect you. Harold planned to accuse you of theft, discredit the will. I hid it here. Poirot's eyes narrowed. You knew of the new will? I overheard him dictate it to Carstairs. Sir Reginald laughed bitterly. So the Ice Queen plays savior, while I'm framed for forgery. Poirot turned to Dr. Blackwood. Docteur, the mortar residue, cyanide crystals ground fine, but the pie was clean. Why grind here, then carry to the dining room? Blackwood shrugged. Convenience. The laboratory is nearby. Yet the stove held the melted vial, Poirot said. Destroyed after use, but the mortar was left. Why? He opened Blackwood's medical bag. Inside, a small leather case. Poirot clicked it open. A hypodermic syringe, residue of white powder in the barrel. Cyanide solution, Poirot said softly. Injected into the port, but no, the glass showed crystals. Unless... He examined the goblet again. Under magnification, a tiny puncture in the stem, sealed with wax. The poison was injected through the base, after pouring before the toast. The wax melted in the warm port, releasing the dose. Japp whistled. Diabolical. Poirot faced Blackwood. You stitched Langdon's wound with this syringe? Blackwood nodded slowly. Sterile saline. Yet the residue, Poirot said. You prepared the poison here, injected the goblet during your napkin excuse. Motive? He opened Blackwood's folder. A letter from the medical council. Suspension pending for falsifying trial data. Harold's signature at the bottom. Expose him or fund me. Blackwood's face crumpled. He bled me dry. The research, my life's work. He promised to destroy the letter if I helped him. Helped how? Poirot pressed. Blackwood glanced at Victoria. Falsify her birth records. Make her illegitimate again. He changed his mind about the will, wanted Reginald back in favor. Victoria swayed. You were my father's friend. I was his pawn, Blackwood said bitterly. Poirot's voice was gentle. But pawns can strike kings. You injected the goblet, then destroyed the vial, planted the pen, the cufflink to implicate Reginald. Blackwood lunged for the door. Japp tackled him. Handcuffs clicked. As Blackwood was led away, Poirot turned to the others. The forgery was real, but not the murder. The Christmas secret was control. Lord Ashford manipulated you all. But one manipulator was manipulated in turn. He paused at the attic window. Snow fell again, soft and relentless. Yet the brooch, returned by Lady Eleanor, an act of love or guilt? Eleanor met his gaze. Love, for the daughter I could never have. Victoria wept. The net had caught one fish, but the pond still rippled. Downstairs the clock struck 6. Somewhere a door opened and closed. The forged legacy was exposed. But the true inheritance was just beginning. Chapter 5. Midnight Revelations. The drawing-room fire had sunk to a sullen glow, casting long shadows that writhed like guilty consciences across the damask walls. Dr. Jonathan Blackwood sat handcuffed to a straight-backed chair, spectacles askew, the mask of professional calm shattered. The others formed a ragged semicircle. Lady Eleanor, white-knuckled on her pearls. Sir Reginald, brandy-glass trembling. Captain Langdon, rigid as a sentry. Miss Victoria, eyes swollen but dry. Inspector Japp stood behind Blackwood, notebook open, while Hercule Poirot paced before the Christmas tree, its unlit candles dripping wax like slow tears. "Midnight approaches," Poirot announced, consulting his pocket watch. "The hour Lord Ashford chose for revelations. We shall honor it with truth." He placed the hypodermic syringe on the mantel, the puncture-marked goblet beside it. "Dr. Blackwood has confessed to preparing the poison, to injecting the goblet during his napkin absence. Motive, financial ruin, threatened by exposure, but—" He raised a finger. "He swears he did not administer the fatal dose. Someone else switched the goblet at the table." Blackwood's voice cracked. "I left it on the sideboard. When I returned, it was on the salver. I thought Harold had taken it himself. Suicide to spite us all." Poirot's mustache twitched. "Suicide? No. Lord Ashford relished control too much. Someone moved the poisoned glass into his hand. Who sat closest?" Eyes turned to Miss Victoria. She recoiled. I was beside him, but I never—" Poirot's gaze softened. "Mademoiselle, you gave him the locket." He laughed. "What then?" Victoria's voice was a thread. "He opened it, saw Mother's picture, said Guy blood will out. Then he tucked it in his waistcoat right over his heart." Poirot produced the locket, now cleaned of port. "Found in the debris, but observe." He opened it. The miniature was cracked, spiderweb fracture across the woman's face. "Pressure from a dying man's grip." Lady Eleanor whispered, "He kept it on him?" "Always," Victoria said. "After that he raised his glass. I thought he was toasting me." Sir Reginald snorted. "Toasting his bastard, more like." Poirot whirled. "Precisely, monsieur. The new will disinherited you. You knew?" Reginald's flush deepened. "Carstairs let slip. I confronted Harold in the library before dinner. He laughed, said I'd get the crumbs." Captain Langdon's cane tapped the floor. "And I confronted him after. He still had my letters, Eleanor's letters. Threatened to read them at the toast." Lady Eleanor's composure cracked. "Arthur, no." Langdon's eyes were steel. "I begged him to burn them. He refused. Said exposure would punish us both." Poirot nodded. 4 absences, 4 opportunities, but the switch required proximity. "Carstairs, demonstrate the salver." The butler entered, salver balanced. He placed it on the table, goblets clinking. "His lordship's glass always center," Carstairs intoned. "I carried it thus." Poirot took the salver, walked the path from sideboard to table. During the chaos of seating, someone lifted the poisoned goblet, replaced it with the clean one from the drawer, a sleight of hand. He reenacted it, swift, fluid. The switch took 3 seconds. Japp whistled. "Practiced." "Indeed," Poirot said. "Who among you has nimble fingers?" Silence. Then Victoria raised a trembling hand. I used to do card tricks. For Uncle Harold, he taught me." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Show me." She hesitated, then took 2 goblets. With a flick, she swapped them seamlessly. Lady Eleanor gasped. "Victoria." Poirot's voice was gentle. "You switched the glasses, mademoiselle, but why?" Victoria's tears spilled. "He was cruel." After the locket, he whispered, "You'll get nothing. The will is a jest." I thought, If he drank from another glass, the poison would miss him. I wanted to scare him, make him acknowledge me. Blackwood lunged against his cuffs. "You little fool, I prepared it for him." "Silence!" Poirot snapped. "Mademoiselle, you swapped the poisoned goblet for the clean one from the drawer, intending the poison to be discovered later?" She nodded miserably. "I hid the poisoned one under the table linen. But when he collapsed, I panicked, slipped it back during the chaos." Jap's pencil flew. "So Blackwood prepares, Victoria switches, then switches back?" "No," Poirot corrected. "Observe the puncture. The wax seal melted slowly. If Victoria swapped after injection, the dose remained, but—" He lifted the cracked goblet. "This is the original. The puncture is here. The substitute had none." He produced the drawer goblet, smooth base. Victoria stared. "Then I swapped clean for poisoned. He drank the poison anyway." Poirot nodded. "Your trick saved no one. It merely confused the sequence." Sir Reginald laughed maniacally. "So the doctor poisons, the girl fumbles, and Harold dies anyway. Justice." Poirot's gaze pinned him. "Justice, or convenience. Monsieur, you removed your forged check from the safe." "When?" Reginald shrugged. "After the murder. Opportunity. Yet the safe combination, only Harold and Carstairs knew it." Carstairs paled. I opened it for the police." Poirot turned to Lady Eleanor. "Madame, the brooch. You hid it to protect Victoria, but you knew of the will?" She nodded. "Harold showed me yesterday, said he'd legitimize her, then laughed. Said it was to torment Reginald. He planned to burn it at midnight." Langdon's cane cracked against the floor. "And my letters?" "Fuel for the fire," Eleanor whispered. Poirot clapped his hands. "Voila! The midnight meeting. Lord Ashford summoned someone to the library to witness the burning." "Who?" He produced the appointment diary. The entry: midnight, library. V. "Victoria," Poirot said softly. She shook her head. "I never—" "But you went," Poirot said. "Elsie saw you at 11 with a parcel. The locket. You returned at midnight." Victoria's voice broke. "He sent a note. Come alone, bring the locket. I thought he'd changed his mind." Poirot opened the diary, a loose page, torn. "Meet me at midnight. The Christmas secret ends tonight." Victoria's handwriting. "You wrote it," Poirot said. Forged his hand. "Why?" "To confront him," she sobbed. "I took the poisoned goblet from under the linen, thought to threaten him. 'Drink or I expose you.' But he laughed, grabbed it, drank." Blackwood groaned. "You gave him the poison?" Victoria collapsed. "I didn't mean—" He seized my wrist. The glass spilled, some on his lips. He licked it, mocking me. Then the convulsions." Poirot's voice was grave. "Accidental death?" "No. You brought the poisoned goblet. Intent to threaten is assault. The dose killed." Jap stepped forward. "Victoria Hale, I'm arresting you for—" "Wait!" Lady Eleanor cried. "She's a child." "No," Poirot said. "She is the daughter and the heir." He turned to Blackwood. "You prepared the poison for suicide, thinking Harold would drink from the sideboard glass?" Blackwood nodded. "He often took a private nip. I left it there." Poirot pieced it together. "The chain. Blackwood injects sideboard goblet. Victoria swaps it to the salver, intending scare. Harold in library seizes the same goblet from her. Drinks. Death by misadventure," Reginald sneered. "So no murderer?" Poirot's eyes were steel. "Intent matters. Blackwood intended murder. Victoria intended coercion. Harold intended cruelty. All contributed." He moved to the tree, lifting the Dickens book. "Redemption denied. Like Scrooge, he saw his chains, chose to wear them." Victoria wept. "He was my father." "And your victim," Poirot said softly. The clock struck midnight. Outside, church bells tolled across the snow. Poirot raised a glass, water, to family, and the truths we bury. The revelations were complete, but the reckoning had only begun. Chapter 6. The Wounded Alibi. The drawing-room clock had barely finished its 12th chime when the lights guttered out. One moment the chandelier blazed like a captive constellation. The next, darkness swallowed the manor whole. A collective gasp rose, followed by the scrape of chairs and the clatter of a fallen glass. In the hearth, the dying fire offered only a sullen red eye. "Stay calm," Inspector Japp barked. "Generator must have failed. Storms knocked the line." But Hercule Poirot's voice cut through the black like a scalpel. "Non, mon ami. The storm ceased hours ago. Someone cut the power, deliberately." A match flared, Poirot's own, illuminating his calm features and the glint of his pocket torch. He swept the beam across the room. Faces flickered, Victoria sobbing into her hands, Lady Eleanor frozen, Sir Reginald clutching the brandy decanter, Captain Langdon half-risen, Dr. Blackwood still cuffed to his chair. The Christmas tree loomed behind them, a dark skeleton. "Japp, secure the prisoners," Poirot ordered. "The rest remain seated." A second match revealed Carstairs at the door, lantern in hand. "Fuse box is in the cellar, sir. No!" Poirot snapped. "No one leaves. The darkness is a mask, and masks are for killers." He moved to the windows. Outside, the snow had stopped. Moonlight silvered the lawn. No footprints marred the fresh crust, yet. From the gallery above came a metallic click. Poirot's torch swung upward. A shadow flitted across the balustrade, then vanished. "Upstairs!" Japp shouted. They surged as one, Poirot leading with the lantern, Japp's boots thundering. The staircase creaked like old bones. On the landing, the air smelled of candle smoke and something sharper. Gun oil. Captain Langdon's voice echoed behind them. "My revolver. It was on the bedside table." Poirot's beam found the gallery door ajar. Inside, moonlight striped the carpet through half-shut blinds. A single brass cartridge glinted on the floor. Japp knelt. .455 Webley, Langdon's service pistol. A muffled groan came from the far end. Poirot's light revealed Sir Reginald slumped against the balustrade, hand pressed to his side, blood seeping between his fingers. "Shot!" Japp exclaimed. Poirot knelt, parting Reginald's waistcoat. The wound was high in the ribs, clean entry, no exit. "Grazing. He will live." He tore a strip from Reginald's own scarf, still monogrammed R.A., and bound the injury. Reginald's eyes fluttered. Came for the will. Someone in the dark. Fired." Poirot's gaze swept the room. The revolver lay on the carpet, barrel warm. One round missing. "Whose fingerprints?" Japp asked. "Wiped," Poirot said, examining with his glass. "But observe the angle. The shooter stood here." He positioned himself by the balustrade. Fired downward at Reginald ascending the stairs, yet the cartridge ejected to the left, military stance. Langdon's face was stone. "My stance, but I was downstairs." "Prove it," Japp growled. Lady Eleanor's voice floated up. "He was beside me when the lights failed. I felt his hand." Poirot nodded. "Alibi, but the gun was taken earlier, during the reconstruction." They descended. Dr. Blackwood, still cuffed, smirked. "Convenient. Frame the soldier." Victoria's whisper cut the air. "The will. Uncle Reginald went for the safe." Poirot's eyes narrowed. The safe was empty of the forged check, but the new will remained. Back in the drawing room, Carstairs had lit candles. Faces glowed like masks in a morality play. Poirot addressed them. The shot was no accident. Someone lured Sir Reginald upstairs knowing he sought the will. The darkness provided cover, but why wound, not kill? He turned to Reginald, now propped on a sofa, brandy reviving him. You went for the safe. Why now? Reginald grimaced. The girl's confession. Victoria inherits all. I thought, if I destroyed the will tonight, the old one stands. I'm still heir. Poirot produced the will from his pocket, creased but intact. You found the safe open? Reginald nodded. Door ajar. I reached in and the lights died, then pain. Poirot examined the safe. The combination lock was scratched, fresh tool marks. Forced earlier. Someone anticipated you. He opened Blackwood's folder. The medical counsel letter was gone. Blackwood's motive, removed, Poirot said. And Langdon's letters? Lady Eleanor produced them from her reticule, burnt at the edges. I took them during the blackout, burned them in the fire, no more leverage. Poirot's mustache bristled. You destroyed evidence. For love, she said simply. Arthur's honor. Langdon's jaw tightened. Eleanor. Poirot raised a hand. The revolver. Captain, when did you last see it? After the cellar, Langdon said. Left it on the bedside, habit. Poirot led them upstairs to Langdon's room. The bed was undisturbed, but the drawer hung open. On the blotter, a single white feather, symbol of cowardice in the war. Langdon's face drained. Harold's old taunt. He called me deserter. Poirot's torch swept the floor. Beneath the bed, a woman's kid glove, Victoria's mate, blood-specked. Victoria gasped. I lost both. Non, Poirot said. One in the attic, one here. Someone plants them, like breadcrumbs. He opened the wardrobe. Inside, a dark lantern, still warm, and a coil of picture wire. Thin, strong. Jap bagged them. Strangulation backup? Poirot nodded. The shooter planned alternatives. Downstairs, the power flickered back. Carstairs had reset the fuse. Light revealed the Christmas tree askew, one branch snapped. Beneath it, a small tin box, lid ajar. Inside, the missing cyanide vial, empty, label peeled. Blackwood stared. I destroyed it. Non, Poirot said. You melted a decoy. This is the real vial, hidden here since yesterday. He lifted a candle stub from the box, wax matching the goblet's seal. The injection was practice, Poirot said. The true method, crystals in the port dissolved slowly, but the vial was kept for a second dose. Victoria's voice trembled. For me? Poirot's eyes were grave. Or to silence a witness. He turned to Elsie hovering by the door. You saw the stables argument, but earlier, did you see anyone near the tree? Elsie nodded. Miss Victoria, sir, yesterday afternoon, putting something in the branches, said it was a surprise for his lordship. Victoria shook her head. A ornament, a glass star. Poirot climbed the library steps, retrieved the star, delicate, hand-blown, inside a residue of white powder. Cyanide, Jap confirmed, sniffing. Victoria swayed. I ground it for the pie, thought to sicken him, make him confess my birthright, but I couldn't. I hid it in the star. Poirot's voice was soft. You prepared poison twice, once in the pie, once in the goblet, but you did not administer. He faced the room. The chain lengthens. Blackwood steals cyanide. Victoria grinds it. Someone injects the goblet. Someone else ensures Harold drinks, then attempts to silence Reginald. Lady Eleanor stepped forward. I cut the power. To burn the letters. Arthur was with me. Langdon nodded. True. But I heard footsteps after the shot. Someone ran toward the east wing. Poirot's torch led them there. Blackwood's laboratory door stood open. On the bench, the revolver barrel wiped beside a fresh bandage, bloodied. Blackwood's cuffs lay severed, wire cutters beside them. He's loose, Jap shouted. They fanned out. Footprints, bare feet, led to the conservatory. Glass doors hung open to the snow. Outside, a single set of prints staggered toward the frozen pond. Poirot knelt. Blood trail. Reginald's wound reopened the chase. The pond glittered under moonlight. In the center, a dark shape lay sprawled. Dr. Blackwood face down, ice cracking beneath him. Jap waded in, hauling the body back. Blackwood's throat bore wire marks, self-inflicted in panic or murder. Poirot examined the wrists. Cut by another, he fled, someone followed. A glint in the snow, the picture wire, ends twisted. Lady Eleanor whispered, "He knew too much." Poirot stood. The wounded alibi bleeds truth. Blackwood prepared the poison but feared exposure. Someone silenced him using his own escape tools. He turned to Victoria. "You ground the crystals, but who placed them in the star?" She shook her head. "I hid it empty." Poirot's eyes swept the group. Then the killer retrieved the poison, used it on the goblet, kept the vial for insurance. The wind moaned through the conservatory palms. Somewhere, ice cracked like a gunshot. Poirot raised the wire. The noose tightens, but the hand that tied it still walks free. The clock struck 1. Dawn was hours away, and the manor still bled secrets. Chapter 7, Deductions in the Drawing Room. The drawing room of Ashford Manor was a tableau of flickering candlelight and fractured trust, the fire now a mere pulse of embers casting skeletal shadows across the crimson walls. Hercule Poirot stood before the Christmas tree, its ornaments glinting like accusatory eyes. The household gathered in a tense semicircle. Lady Eleanor, her pearls clutched like a rosary. Sir Reginald, bandaged and pale from his grazing gunshot. Captain Langdon, his cane a silent prop. Miss Victoria, eyes hollow with guilt, and Carstairs rigid at the door, lantern in hand. Inspector Japp paced beside the mantel where the hypodermic syringe, the punctured goblet, and the cyanide-dusted glass star lay like relics of a profane ritual. Dr. Blackwood's body, now covered in the conservatory, hung over them like a ghost. Poirot's voice was a low, deliberate cadence, each word measured for maximum effect. "Mesdames et messieurs, the hour grows late, yet the truth emerges. Lord Harold Ashford died by cyanide, administered in his Venetian goblet during the Christmas toast. But the path to his death is a labyrinth of intent, deceit, and misadventure." He lifted the goblet, its etched crest catching the candlelight. The method: crystals, not injection. The wax-sealed puncture was a distraction, a red herring crafted to mislead. The poison was sprinkled directly into the port, dissolved slowly during the meal's delay. Japp stopped pacing. "But the syringe, Blackwood's prints." Poirot nodded. "Oui, prepared as a backup. Dr. Blackwood stole cyanide from his laboratory, ground it in the mortar, intended a subtle dose, perhaps for himself as he claimed suicide. But someone bolder used his work." He turned to Victoria. "Mademoiselle, you confessed to grinding cyanide for the mince pie, to sicken, not kill. You hid it in the glass star, then faltered. Correct?" Victoria's voice was barely audible. "Yes. I couldn't do it. I left the star empty." "Yet it contained poison," Poirot said, holding the star aloft. "Someone retrieved your crystals, used them in the goblet, not you." He paced, hands clasped behind his back. The red herrings multiply, the forged will benefiting Victoria planted to incriminate Sir Reginald. The cufflink, the scarf, the glove, strewn like props in a melodrama, the shot at Reginald, a warning, not murder. The power cut, Lady Eleanor's desperate act to burn Langdon's letters. All distractions from the core. Sir Reginald growled, clutching his side. "Get to it, man. Who killed Harold?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Patience, monsieur. First, the motives. Sir Reginald, disinherited, humiliated by debts. Lady Eleanor, blackmailed over an affair with Captain Langdon. The captain, shamed by Harold's taunts of cowardice. Victoria denied her birthright, manipulated by a cruel father. Dr. Blackwood, facing ruin for medical fraud, each a thread in Harold's web. He lifted the diary. The Christmas secret. Harold planned to expose you all during his toast. The will, the letters, the debts, the illegitimacy. He summoned someone to the library at midnight to witness his triumph. The note. He produced the torn scrap. Meet me at midnight. The Christmas secret ends tonight. In Victoria's hand, forged to mimic Harold's. Victoria flinched. I wrote to confront him, not to kill. Oui, Poirot said. You brought the poisoned goblet from the sideboard, intending a threat. He seized it, drank, died. But the poison, who placed it? He turned to the tree, plucking a broken ornament, a silver bell, its clapper missing. Inside, a trace of white powder. Another hiding place, the killer scattered cyanide in multiple vessels, ensuring success. Lady Eleanor's voice was sharp. You accuse us all? No, Poirot said. I accuse one, but first, the alibis unravel. He faced Langdon. You claim to be with Lady Eleanor during the blackout. Yet Elsie heard you in the stables at dawn, arguing with Reginald, bleeding from a knife. Langdon's knuckles whitened on his cane. A misunderstanding. Reginald panicked. Poirot pivoted to Reginald. You sought the will to destroy it. Found the safe open. By whom? Reginald shrugged. Carstairs, I assumed. Carstairs stiffened. I opened it for the police. After. Poirot's gaze swept to Eleanor. Madame, you burned the letters to protect Langdon, but you knew the safe's contents. Why not destroy the will? Her lips parted, then closed. I wanted Victoria safe. Poirot nodded. Love or guilt? He lifted the glove from the attic. Yours, mademoiselle, but worn by another. The blood, Blackwood's, from his escape attempt. He cut his wrists with wire, fled to the pond, where someone silenced him. Jap interjected. Silenced? Strangled? Oui, Poirot said. The wire marks, deliberate. Blackwood knew too much. He prepared the poison but did not deliver it. The true killer used his work, then ensured his silence. He stepped to the mantel, lifting the syringe. This was never used. A feint. The killer preferred directness, crystals in the goblet sprinkled during the seating chaos. Only one had the opportunity, the nerve, the access. He faced Captain Langdon. Monsieur, you left the table for air. You passed the sideboard. You knew Harold's habits, his insistence on the Venetian goblet. You carried cyanide from the Star, hidden in your cigarette case. Langdon's face hardened. Preposterous. I was with Eleanor. No, Poirot said. Lady Eleanor covered for you as she covered for your past. The feather in your room, Harold's taunt of cowardice. He threatened to expose you as a deserter, ruining your honor, your pension. You argued in the library at 11:30. Elsie overheard. You took the cyanide then, sprinkled it during your absence. Langdon's cane clattered to the floor. You've no proof. Poirot produced a cigarette case from Langdon's coat, left in the hall. Inside, a few crystals gleaming like frost. Jap lunged. Got you! Langdon dodged, seizing the revolver from the evidence pile. Back! I'll not swing for him, Eleanor screamed. Arthur, no! Poirot's voice was calm. You will not shoot, Capitaine. Your war was fought in shadows, not battlefields. You killed to silence Harold, then Blackwood to silence the witness. The wire in the conservatory, your military knots. Langdon's hand shook. The gun lowered. Jap tackled him, cuffs snapping shut. Poirot turned to the others. The chain completes. Blackwood steals cyanide. Victoria grinds it, hides it. Langdon uses it, kills Harold, then Blackwood. The alibis, wounded by truth. Victoria sobbed. I gave him the glass. No, Poirot said gently. You threatened. Langdon acted. His motive, shame. Harold's letters were not just love, they named him coward, Eleanor wept. I burned them to save him, Poirot nodded, and in saving condemned him. He lifted the Dickens book. Harold sought redemption too late. Langdon sought survival. The fire sputtered. Jap led Langdon out. Reginald muttered, "Damned fool." Victoria clutched the locket. "My father," Poirot's voice softened. "He was cruel, but you are free." The clock struck 2. Outside, the snow lay still, hiding no more secrets. But Poirot paused. A final ornament, a glass angel, hung askew. Its wing was cracked, revealing a hidden compartment, empty. "The killer planned again," he murmured, "but the net is closed." He bowed to the room. The deductions are complete, the Christmas secret exposed. Yet the angel's empty heart whispered. One truth remained buried. Chapter 8. The Chase Through the Snow. The drawing-room doors had scarcely closed behind Captain Arthur Langdon and Inspector Japp when the house itself seemed to exhale. Candles guttered. The Christmas tree swayed as if a hidden hand had brushed it. Hercule Poirot stood motionless at the mantel, eyes fixed on the glass angel whose cracked wing revealed an empty compartment. The others, Lady Eleanor, Sir Reginald, Miss Victoria Carstairs, waited in brittle silence, the air thick with the scent of melted wax and spent gunpowder. Poirot's voice cut the hush like a blade. "The net closes, mes amis, yet the fish thrashes. Captain Langdon has confessed to silencing Dr. Blackwood, strangulation with picture wire in the conservatory. He claims the murder of Lord Harold was impulse, the cyanide meant as a threat, seized and drunk in the library confrontation, but he lifted the angel. This compartment was designed for a final dose. Someone planned beyond impulse." Lady Eleanor's pearls clicked. "You mean Langdon lies?" "Non," Poirot said. "He tells half-truths. Observe." He produced Langdon's cigarette case, crystals still glittering within. Enough for one lethal goblet, yet the glass star held more. Who emptied it? Victoria's whisper trembled. "I told you. I hid it empty." Poirot's gaze swept to Sir Reginald, bandaged and sullen. "Monsieur, you sought the will during the blackout. Found the safe forced. By whom?" Reginald shrugged. "Langdon, I assumed. Military training." Poirot shook his head. "The scratches were amateur, file marks, not lockpick. Someone less skilled." He moved to the window. Moonlight silvered the lawn. The conservatory doors still hung open like a wound. "The chase begins. Japp, release Langdon from the cuffs. We hunt." Japp hesitated. "He's a killer." "Controlled," Poirot said. "He knows the grounds. We follow the trail." Langdon, wrists raw, rubbed them warily. "You trust me?" "Non," Poirot smiled. "I trust your fear. Lead us to Blackwood's path." They armed themselves, lanterns, Japp's revolver, Langdon's cane. Outside, the snow had hardened into a crust that rang beneath boots. The prints from the conservatory were stark. Blackwood's bare feet staggering, then a second set, heavier, booted, overlapping, pursuing. A third set, smaller, joined briefly, then veered toward the stables. "3," Poirot murmured. "Blackwood flees. The killer chases. A third. Witness or accomplice?" The trail led past the ice house, where the door hung ajar. Inside, ice blocks gleamed like sarcophagi. On the floor, a bloodied handprint, Blackwood's, and a single pearl earring, Lady Eleanor's mate. Eleanor touched her ear, bare. "I lost it weeks ago. Or planted," Poirot said. "Like the glove. The killer sows confusion." The prince emerged, circling the pond where Blackwood had fallen. The ice was cracked wider now, water black beneath. Japp's torch revealed drag marks. Someone had hauled the body back, then pushed it again. Langdon's voice was hoarse. "I strangled him here. He begged," said Harold, "forced him to falsify Victoria's birth records. I panicked." Poirot knelt. Yet the wire was cut from the gallery. Your room. You planned escape, not murder. Langdon's eyes flickered. I took the wire earlier. Insurance. The trail split. The heavier prints continued to the stables, the smaller ones doubled back toward the manor. Poirot chose the stables. The door creaked open on darkness thick with horse breath and hay. Hobbs the groom lay bound and gagged in a stall, eyes wide. Released him, Poirot ordered. Hobbs gasped. Masked figure, knocked me cold, took the hunter. Langdon's horse was gone. Fresh hoofprints led toward the woods. They followed on foot, snow crust breaking. The woods were a cathedral of silence, moonlight striping the path. A mile in, the prince stopped at a clearing. The horse stood tethered, lathered. Beside it, a dark lantern, still warm, and a woman's scarf, monogrammed VH. Victoria's breath clouded. Not mine. Poirot lifted it. Blood-specked. The third set of prints, smaller, a woman's boot. He untied the horse, found a saddlebag. Inside, the missing medical counsel letter, Blackwood's forged check, and a small vial, cyanide, half full. Jap whistled. The real stash. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The killer gathered evidence, planned to flee, but why the scarf? A twig snapped. They whirled. From the shadows stepped Elsie, the kitchen maid, face streaked with dirt, a stable knife in her trembling hand. Don't come closer, she cried. I saw everything. Poirot's voice was gentle. Saw what, mon enfant? Elsie's knees buckled. Miss Victoria in the woods last night, meeting Dr. Blackwood. She gave him the star, said finish it. Then Captain Langdon arrived. They argued. Blackwood ran. I followed, hid in the stables. When the lights went out, I saw Lady Eleanor cut the wire. Then Sir Reginald upstairs shot. I ran here to warn. Victoria gasped. Lies, I never... Poirot raised a hand. The scarf. Yours, Elsie. She nodded. Borrowed from Miss Victoria's room to keep warm. Poirot turned to Victoria. You met Blackwood? Victoria's tears froze on her cheeks. He said Uncle Harold would burn the will. I gave him the star, empty, I swear, to bluff. Langdon's face twisted. You little... Silence, Poirot snapped. He examined the vial. Half full. Enough for another death. The yule, killer kept insurance. Hoofbeats thundered. From the far path a rider burst Carstairs on a second horse, face grim. Sir, the manor, fire! They raced back. Smoke billowed from the east wing, Blackwood's laboratory. Flames licked the windows, orange against the snow. Jap cursed. Evidence! Poirot's eyes narrowed. Or distraction. They burst into the courtyard. The fire roared, but the laboratory door stood open. Inside, shelves collapsed, bottles bursting. On the bench, a note singed but legible. The secret burns with me. Forgive. Blackwood's hand. Langdon stared. He said it? Non, Poirot said. The killer staged suicide after strangling him. The note, written earlier under duress. He knelt in the snow. Fresh prints, small, leading from the fire to the pond. There, a hole had been chopped in the ice. Beneath, the revolver sunk. Jap fished it out. Langdon's? Langdon shook his head. I left it in the gallery. Poirot's torch swept the banks. A single boot print, Reginald's size, but lighter. Someone wore his boots. Back inside, the household reconvened in the hall. Sir Reginald limped in, bandage fresh. I was in the library, resting, heard the fire bell. Poirot faced him. Your boots, monsieur. Lent to another? Reginald paled. In the hall, anyone could. Poirot lifted the singed note. Blackwood wrote this. When? Victoria whispered. Yesterday, he showed me. Said if Harold exposed him, he'd end it. Poirot nodded. The killer forced the note, staged the fire, sank the gun, but the vial, he held it up. Found in the woods, the chase was to retrieve it. Elsie spoke. I saw Lady Eleanor in the woods after the fire started, carrying something. Eleanor's face was stone. I went for air. Poirot's voice was soft. Non, madame. You followed the trail to destroy the vial. But Elsie took it first. Elsie nodded. Hid it in the saddlebag. Thought to bargain. Poirot turned to Langdon. You strangled Blackwood to silence him, but the poison was yours? Langdon shook his head. I took the star from Victoria. Used the crystals. Blackwood was accomplice, not master. Poirot's eyes swept the room. Then the mastermind remains. Someone orchestrated the red herrings, the fire, the chase. He moved to the Christmas tree. The angel's compartment still empty. But beneath the tree, a loose floorboard. He pried it. Inside, a small ledger, Harold's true accounts. Embezzlement signed by Carstairs. The butler gasped. He forced me. Poirot closed the ledger. The secret was larger. Harold bled the estate. Carstairs cooked the books. Exposure would ruin all. Carstairs bolted. Japp tackled him. Poirot faced the room. The chase ends. Langdon killed Blackwood. Carstairs enabled the fraud, but Harold's death... He paused. The clock struck 3. Was the catalyst. The snow reveals all tracks. Yet the angel's empty heart gleamed. One secret still hid. Chapter 9. The ultimate betrayal. The hall of Ashford Manor had become a courtroom without walls. Dawn's pale light filtered through frost-rimmed windows, gilding the oak panels and the Christmas tree's dying garlands. Evidence lay spread on a gate-leg table. The punctured goblet, the cyanide star, the wire, the derringer now safely in Japp's pocket. Lady Eleanor sat cuffed to a chair, black velvet torn, pearls gone. Captain Langdon and Carstairs flanked her, wrists bound. Sir Reginald leaned against the newel post, ribs bandaged. Victoria stood by the hearth, locket clenched in her fist. Poirot paced before them, the glass angel in his hand. Order, he said softly. The storm ends. The snow melts. The truth stands naked. He faced Eleanor. You poisoned Lord Harold. You took Victoria's cyanide from the star, added it to the goblet during seating chaos. You planted every red herring, cufflink, scarf, glove, fire. You strangled Blackwood to silence him. Eleanor's chin rose. He was a tyrant. I gave him justice. Poirot's eyes were steel. Justice is not betrayal, madame. You raised Victoria as your own, then framed her. Victoria's voice cracked. You said you loved me. I loved the life I could have had, Eleanor replied. Harold controlled everything. My name, my past, my future. The new will left me nothing. I saw freedom. Poirot turned to Langdon. You added crystals, believing the dose yours. You strangled Blackwood to shield her. Langdon nodded. I failed her once, not again. Carstairs, Poirot continued, you cooked the books, opened the safe, started the fire on her order. The butler wept. She promised to save us all. Poirot lifted the ledger. Harold bled the estate. Exposure would ruin everyone. Eleanor cut the web with poison. He moved to Victoria. You ground the cyanide to sicken, not kill. You forged the note, confronted your father. His death was unintended, yet your actions fed the chain. Victoria's tears fell. I only wanted acknowledgement. Poirot's hand rested on her shoulder. He gave it too late. He faced the room. The midnight meeting was Eleanor's forgery in Victoria's hand. She watched Harold drink in the library, mocking her. She orchestrated chaos to scatter blame. The angel's compartment was for a final dose, to silence Victoria if she inherited. Victoria gasped. You would have killed me? Eleanor's gaze was ice. You were his. I could never be. Japp stepped forward. Lady Eleanor Ashford, I arrest you for murder. Her hand flashed to her sleeve. A second derringer glinted. No! Langdon lunged. The shot cracked into the ceiling. Japp tackled her. The gun clattered. Poirot knelt beside Victoria. She betrayed you most, framed you, then planned to silence you. Victoria wept. Why? Eleanor, cuffed again, met her eyes. Because you were the chain. Poirot stood. The chain completes. Carstairs enables fraud. Blackwood supplies poison. Victoria grinds it. Langdon adds to the goblet. Eleanor administers betrays. Harold's cruelty birthed his death. He lifted the Dickens book. Redemption denied. To all. Sir Reginald stirred. The estate. Victoria's, Poirot said. Debts and all. Victoria straightened. I'll sell what I must, start anew. Poirot bowed. Order restored. The clock struck 4. Police vans crunched up the drive. Constables took Eleanor Langdon Carstairs. Eleanor paused at the door. Forgive me. Victoria's voice was small. I already have. The door closed. Silence fell, broken only by the fire's crackle. Victoria approached Poirot, angel in palm. What now? Keep it, he said. Beauty can hide poison, but also hope. She slipped it into her pocket. Will you stay? London calls, but I leave you truth. At the door, Poirot paused. He lifted a loose hearth brick. Beneath, Harold's final letter to Victoria. She opened it. My daughter, the will is true. Forgive my cruelty. It was fear. Use the estate well. Your father, H. Tears fell. He loved me. Too late, Poirot said softly. But love nonetheless. He donned his coat. Adieu. Outside, the vans departed. Victoria stood on the steps, angel in hand, watching snow turn to water. The manor breathed. The secret was buried no more. Chapter 10. Resolution by the hearth dawn had fully broken over Ashford Manor, a pale winter sun turning the melting snow to liquid diamond. The drawing-room windows glowed with soft gold, illuminating the wreckage of the night. Overturned chairs, scattered evidence, the Christmas tree sagging like a weary sentinel. The fire had been stoked high, its warmth pushed back the chill of betrayal. Victoria Hale stood by the hearth, the glass angel now tucked safely in her pocket, Harold's final letter folded in her hand. Sir Reginald sat opposite, ribs bandaged, a fresh pot of tea between them. Inspector Japp supervised the last of the arrests outside. Lady Eleanor, Captain Langdon, and Carstairs loaded into police vans, their silhouettes shrinking against the white drive. Hercule Poirot lingered near the door, overcoat donned, Homburg in hand, ready to depart. Order, Poirot said quietly, surveying the room. It is restored. He moved to the mantel, setting down the Dickens first edition, a Christmas carol, its inscription still visible, To my brother, may you yet find redemption. H. The book had survived the chaos, a small miracle amid the ruin. Victoria's voice was steady despite her red-rimmed eyes. The will stands. I inherit everything, debts, fraud, secrets. Poirot nodded. Oui, mademoiselle, but also the power to rebuild. Sell the London house, the investments. Keep the land. Make Ashford Manor a home, not a prison. Sir, Reginald cleared his throat, wincing. I'll help. The old will named me contingent. We can negotiate, pay the creditors, start fresh. Victoria met his gaze. No more secrets? None, Reginald said gruffly. Harold's web ends with us. Poirot smiled faintly. Redemption, monsieur. Even for you. He turned to the hearth where the fire crackled merrily. Lord Harold sought to play Scrooge, exposing sins on Christmas Eve. He forgot the ghosts of past, present, future. They came anyway. Victoria unfolded Harold's letter, reading aloud. My daughter, the will is true. Forgive my cruelty, it was fear. Use the estate well. Your father, H. Her tears fell onto the paper, smudging the ink. He loved me after all. Too late, Poirot said gently. But love nonetheless. Keep the letter. Let it guide you. Elsie entered with a tray, fresh scones, butter, jam. The scent of warmth and normalcy filled the room. Breakfast, miss? Victoria managed to smile. Yes, Elsie. And open the windows. Let the air in. Sunlight streamed through as the panes creaked open. The manor breathed free of poison and lies. Poirot donned his muffler. I must return to London. The little grey cells require rest. Victoria approached, angel in hand. Will you take something? A remembrance? He twirled his mustache. The memory of truth unveiled is enough. At the door, he paused. One final detail. He lifted the loose hearth brick again, revealing a second envelope, addressed to Eleanor. Inside, a single line in Harold's hand. You were always the chain I could not break. Victoria's breath caught. He knew. Perhaps, Poirot said. Or perhaps he finally saw. He bowed. Adieu. Outside, Jap waited in the Daimler, engine rumbling. Poirot climbed in. The manor shrank in the mirror, Victoria on the steps waving, Reginald beside her. Police vans had vanished, only tire tracks remained, already filling with melt. Jap lit a cigarette. Another Christmas wrapped up neat, eh? Poirot smiled. Neat as a parcel, mon ami. Truth is the ribbon. The car crunched down the drive. Behind them, Victoria closed the door, angel in pocket, letter in heart. She turned to Reginald. We begin today, he nodded. The estate, the land, ours to save. In the epilogue, Poirot sat in his London flat, a glass of sirop de cassis raised to the fire. To truths unveiled, he toasted the empty room, and to a Merry Christmas wherever it finds us. The flames danced. Outside, the city stirred. A new year dawned, order, justice, and hope restored by the hearth.